So what we have now is no weirdness. Instead, we have Shamir. And I've asked Shamir to be part of this. First of all, because he's from Calgary, because we're talking about hard math, because he's a commensurate teacher, self-empowerment, because he's been with us before, and all of these things, and because he's going to be with us in our Discovery series, I think this would be a great time for him to come and present about 15 minutes or so what he does, and also a little bit more than that. You'll see I've kept the lights in the audience up at his request. So let's welcome Shamir.
Well, a real honor and privilege to be with Lee, Amber, Monica, and of course our wonderful hosts. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you. So let's get to it. Did you know that stress is a factor in the top 5 leading causes of death? Did that wake you up? That kind of woke you up? And what are those 5 causes? Anybody know anyone that has or is currently suffering from this? Anybody? Heart disease? Right.
4 heart attacks, I'm still here.
Good for you! What's the numerology on 4? It's the 5th one will be a change, so don't go there. But in North American statistics, 75 to 90% of doctor visits are stress related. And this is something from Center for Disease Control, which is a US organization, but we're pretty much mirroring that right now. So 75 to 90% of your doctor's visits. So at the top level, in 1 year, if you go to see a physician every month, once a month, 8 of those, generally 8 or 9 if you're in the 90%, are related to stress. So what happens if you get rid of stress, if you manage stress? What happens? How many doctor's visits will you save, and how much time will you save? How much will it reduce the amount of wear and tear on the health system? Wouldn't that be amazing if we all did our job? Let's look at the world, see what's happening. This is the statistics right here. So South Koreans go about 15 times a year. Each South Korean, on the average, goes 15 times a year to see a physician. Canada, about 8. So a little less than once a month. Anybody relate to this? Anybody know somebody who's gone more than 8 times a year to the physician? Yeah, I used to do that. Yeah. Anybody knows people who go less to the physician? You have that? Awesome. This is great. Yeah. I think the last time, I usually go once every 3 years when I get hit with a cold. But that's it. I can tell you a bit about my story after. Our counterparts in the US, 4 times a year. Each average American goes 4 times a year to the physician, so once a quarter or so. Anybody surprised by this?
Yeah.
All right. So today I'm going to talk about stress and you, how it impacts you. Now, how many people know somebody who's stressed out, but they don't know that they are? Do we have? All right. Yeah. Me too. I should raise my hand. So I didn't know I was stressed out. And let me share with you a bit of my story. So these are my 2 daughters. This is on my 44th birthday. My 2 daughters, they were 7 and 8 then. And it was just before that birthday, that snapshot was taken. I had a physical exam like I did every year. And my physician saw that I was on diabetes medication, I was on cholesterol, blood pressure. I was on medications to offset the side effects of those medications. It was just crazy. My physician says you've maxed out on the diabetes medication of that sort, so we're going to have to maybe in the future near future move you to insulin. And and he says you're heading down the heart disease path. So what I did was, my kids were 7 and 8. I was the only person who was earning a salary in my family. And so I was concerned about their future, so I went ahead and went down the path that we all normally first kind of default to, is I'm going to go get some life insurance. I'm going to get some critical illness insurance. And that's what I did. So I started applying for critical illness and life insurance, and I had a top-notch person who actually was a broker, insurance broker, looking for this. So he finally found a couple that were possible. So they sent a nurse over to take my blood work. This is an independent qualification process. I don't know, has anybody done that for life insurance? So you know what I'm talking about. So she weighed me, took the blood pressure, the whole works, asked me a bunch of questions. And I said, great. So I've got that covered. If something happens to me, my kids are covered. Their financial future is okay. About a week later, I got a letter in the email, in the mail. At that time, it was just all done by mail. And they denied me. They basically denied me coverage because I was too much of a high risk. My world came crashing down, you have no idea, because I had no other options now. I was heading down a path of already believing that I was going to go die early, I was going to get a heart attack. Who are going to look after my kids? I was going down that path. You have no idea what went through my mind at that time, saying I failed my kids, and they were still young. Until I came across a wonderful, wonderful family. Now, how I got there was I stopped believing the white lab coats. I said, no, there's got to be a different way. There's got to be a different way. And when I set my intention and I said, I want to find an alternate way, I want to get rid of all my meds, there were wonderful people coming in. And when I say family, these are my chosen family, people like you. People would come into my life and say, hey, here's a Reiki method. Here's a body talk. Here, go see this naturopath. I love this naturopath. Even the naturopath told me I couldn't get rid of all my meds. They said, you know, you're on your way, and I was slowly moving in that direction. I began exercising, I began eating well, stopped the burgers and fries, and I began on that journey. But even the naturopath said, look, I want you to get off all the meds. I want you to go natural, but you're not going to get off the meds because you always have that. Well, guess what? Today I'm standing here not taking any meds, and I feel amazing. Thank you. How many of you know somebody who got off meds completely? Isn't that exciting? If I asked this question in 2007, you probably wouldn't have that many hands go up. I had a client, her name is Sheila. She came to me when a doctor prescribed her anti-anxiety medications because she was going through marital issues, she was going through a whole bunch of other issues. This was when I first started out in the heart math. You have to do some internship in heart math. So I sat down and I taught her one of the advanced heart math techniques. I'm going to teach you one of the basic ones right now because we don't have much time to go into the advanced. I'll teach you some intermediate ones tomorrow if you come into my workshop. But right now we'll do one that will give you a good understanding of what that technique is. And within that week, she stopped taking medication. She was able to sleep without it. And a year later, when I met her, she was just transformed. Her sister told me, thank you for bringing Sheila back for us. This technique, for only a few weeks, will transform your life for a long time. And I'm happy to share that with you today. These are my daughters now. And one of them has a boyfriend, and so heart math technique is really helping me. But what I'm excited about now is, in that picture, I didn't see a way out. In this picture, I'm going to live forever. I get the sense that I'm going to live forever, and that's great, because if you shoot for the stars and you land on the moon, why not? Right? Awesome. So I know I'm going to see my grandkids someday, and I know I'm going to see both the girls married, and I'm going to be healthy. It's going to be awesome. Actually, interestingly enough, when my youngest daughter, this one here, was born in 1999, November 1999, 9/11. When she was born, when I was there, now this was 17 years ago. I was there when the baby was there, when she was there, and this gentleman whom I didn't know came to me and says, "Oh, congratulations on the birth of your granddaughter." I looked that old back then, and this was before that time. I looked really old. So I can tell you right now, today we will learn how stress impacts you. We will show you 3 barriers that stand in your way, because it's so simple to overcome stress. But there are 3 things that stand in your way of overcoming stress. And I'm going to show that to you, and we're going to try and bust through that. Okay? At least give you some food for thought. The third thing is, we're going to teach you one heart math technique, the most basic and foundational heart math technique, so you can take something away in this 15 minutes. Okay? All right. These are all the organs in your body that are affected by stress. Basically, there's nothing left in here. These are some huge critical organs that are affected by stress. Now think about a web. You have a web. If a part of a web is torn, if you put pressure on that, doesn't it make sense that the other parts will have to take up the extra weight? And they're stressed out. And if that breaks, then other parts are stressed out. Imagine what happens. This is the heart that pumps in your body, that keeps everything like clockwork synchronized. And you have a failing pancreas, which is where diabetes is, right? You fail that, this will work harder, that will work harder, everything else will become unbalanced. So, we can go to the doctor and say, hey, help me create more insulin cells here. And he gives you medications that throws other things off balance. There is no real choice here for some of us. We have to do that. But it impacts the entire body. Wouldn't it be nice if we knew how to do that naturally? Anybody interested in going for it? Of course you are. And if you said no, this would be a short presentation. This is what stress does to you. Now this is HeartMath studies. These are actual studies done by HeartMath, and they've actually identified these. That stress will accelerate your aging. Remember my story about my daughter? When she was born, I was a grandpa. Reduced muscle mass. When you go to the gym and work out, how many of you have heard of people or have done it yourself? I'm really upset, I'm just going to go for a run. Anybody here? Yeah. When you run angry, you actually create more wear and tear on your body. And if you come to tomorrow's workshop, I'll show you how your emotions can change the hormone production in your body so that you're actually reducing your aging, or reversing your aging process, improving your diseases, or reducing your diseases, versus if you're going angry. So it's quite interesting, but you do reduce your muscle mass. And of course, short-term memory or impaired memory. Brain cell death, I mean, our cells die off all the time, but they rejuvenate themselves. At some point, if you're chronically stressed out, you actually don't rejuvenate back your brain cells. And of course, the impaired mental function. So let's talk about 3 things that stand in your way of managing your stress. The first thing is, you think stress is normal. How many of us here have heard of the frog in the boiling pot metaphor? Of course. So anytime you turn up the pot, the frog gets a little sense that, okay, the heat is up, but the body gets used to that. And then you turn it up a little bit more, and then the frog says, okay, it's hotter, and then the body adjusts. Well, your body is so intelligent that when you're feeling stress, if you don't bring the stress down, your body takes that as a normal course of process for your body. This is your level. And so the body adjusts to that, and everything's stressful, and that is normal to you. So as you ratchet it up, you don't even know when you're going to get to a point where the frog in the boiling pot just dies. And you will get a heart attack if you don't bring that down under control. Okay? So the first thing is, you think stress is normal. I'm here to tell you it's not. Stress is normal for short bursts because your body is meant to withstand stress for short bursts. If you're going to go jogging, you want to build that endurance. You want to train. So you want to bust through that. You want to actually stress your body out just enough that becomes normal for you. That's what stress is. When that becomes normal for you, that's a normal in a good way. Right? So, stress is not normal. The second barrier is people think that stress management is difficult and costly. And because they only know one way out of stress. Just like me, I only knew one way out of going down the path of heart disease and diabetes, worse diabetes, find insurance. So I didn't even look at the alternative of healing myself, because to me, that wasn't in my sphere of understanding to heal myself. I actually went down a path of, okay, I'm going to die, I've taken that for granted, I'm going to do this. So we all feel stress is a part of life, so we go on vacations once a year, perhaps. And we spend money doing that, and we think that we are alleviating stress. Same as jogging. If you're still thinking about problems while you're doing this, you're not really de-stressing. You're making it worse. How many people know somebody who's been on vacation and had a heart attack? Like, I know somebody who did that. A few people do that. Okay? We take medications because it's just an instant relief, but there are some side effects. And of course, maybe spa, massage, things like that. So that's a second barrier. We think that stress management is difficult and costly. Now, let me share with you one technique. Now, this is the HeartMath technique. So I'm going to take you through. How many of you breathe on a normal basis? Good, you've got one out of the 2 tools. Some of you says you don't breathe. Figure that out. The second thing, how many of you have ever felt an emotion? Yeah, okay. So do you know that that's all you need to manage your stress? Is the ability to breathe and the ability to feel emotions. That's all. Forget all these other things. Shall we try it? Let's try it. Okay. So, place your awareness in the area of the heart. Now you can close your eyes on this or keep it open. It's up to you. But if you're trying this for the first time and you're new to heart math, close your eyes. Feel free to close your eyes. Bring awareness in the area of your heart. Just gentle awareness in the area of your heart. Just focus there. Now begin to take slow, deep breaths and visualize these breaths flowing in and out of your heart area. Slower and deeper than normal. Take those deep breaths. Slow your body down. Beautiful. Take them deeper, slower and gentler. Allow it to just flow. Know that when you do this, you're sending a signal to your body. Continue to do this breathing while I talk. The signal to your body is everything is well. All is well with me. And your body begins to listen and says, okay, if all is well with you, that means now I can focus my attention away from areas that you need when you're stressed out and into the areas which allow healing and repairing of your body. Because when you're stressed out, the body feels that there's a storm coming, and so it does things, produces hormones that are stress hormones. You're sending a signal right now to your body that I want you to slow down the production of stress hormones, and I want you to increase production of hormones that reverse my aging process, that boost my immunity. Okay, gently come back to this. Now you can do this while awake, while alert. The US Navy SEALs use an advanced form of this technique that is built on this. And you don't see those guys having bombs and bullets fly over their heads, sitting down in meditation going, oh, they don't. They are actively doing heart math techniques, using a specific form of heart math technique to actually keep their wits about them and make the right decisions and choices. As a matter of fact, the police use it. Alberta Health Services has trainers who do this all the time. So this is a technique. So what are the 2 steps? Anyone? You forgot already. Breathing, yeah. Focus on your heart and deep breaths flowing in and out of our hearts. That is the foundation of all the 6 or 7 heart math techniques you will come across. If you know this, the other advanced techniques are a breeze. Okay? Now, the first barrier, you don't take timely action. This guy did not take timely action. Okay? So when I found out I was heading down a path of ill health, I just thought, hey, insurance. I didn't even do anything about my stress. I didn't even know it was stress related. I thought it was just normal aging process. I did not take, it took me 7 years. 7 years to get to where I am. And I did nutrition, I did everything I could. And then when I came across heart math, which is the technique we've learned, that was the one that was the icing on top because it helped me get off meds. I actually went and got off meds before heart math, and then I found out I had to put it back on again because I didn't get rid of the stress. I was doing energy healing, I was doing all of those things, you know, repacking my beliefs, did all of that. But what was critical here is that I didn't get rid of the underlying stress conditions in my life because that happens and I didn't know how to handle that stress. And so now, heart math allows me to actually stay off the meds, and that's what I've done, and that's the secret. So today we learned how stress impacts you, the 3 barriers that stand in your way, and a heart math technique called heart-focused breathing. And that's all I have. I hope I didn't go too much over. Thank you, boss.
Thank you, Shamir. And also, I wanted to tell you that it might be confusing to you because we know what we're doing, but we haven't just, given you the schedule to memorize. Shamir is doing a workshop tomorrow evening after we are presented. However, during the workshop with Dr. Wolf and I, we're going to do this thing that he mentioned. We're actually going to hook somebody up, maybe 2 or 3 people, with a probe from the computer and electrocute them in front of you. No. Oh, that's spiritual Tourette's. And you're going to see the combination of breathing and emotion. On the screen, you'll be able to see and watch the result. And something is going to happen which we call coherence. And it's measured in several levels, and you'll see the coherence level of compassion come up. And it's so interesting to watch this feedback on the screen as you see the person go through the breathing and whatever, and then the audience can participate as well. So we're doing that tomorrow during the workshop with Amber and I, and that's going to be with Shamir's help and his guidance.